Twilight 2008 on trial. Prepare for a hilarious examination of the sparkly vampire phenomenon that somehow captivated an entire generation. Why does he sparkle? Why is the romance so weird? Let's investigate this cinematic masterpiece and determine if it deserves jail time. Keep scrolling for the evidence. Exhibit A, the sparkle effect. In what universe do vampires sparkle in sunlight? Twilight broke every established vampire rule when Edward stepped into the sunlight and turned into a walking disco ball instead of burning to ashes. This bizarre creative choice left traditional vampire fans confused and mythology experts horrified. The prosecution argues that no self-respecting vampire would be caught dead or undead looking like they bathed in glitter. The defense? Teen appeal, apparently. Exhibit B, the 100-year age gap. Edward Cullen, 108 years old, born in 1901 with a century of life experience and presumably multiple high school diplomas. Bella Swan, 17 years old, a teenager who can barely navigate high school social dynamics, let alone a relationship with someone who lived through both world wars. The verdict? Creepy at best, predatory at worst, yet somehow sold as the ultimate teen romance. Exhibit C, stalker behavior. Watching her sleep, Edward admits to regularly breaking into Bella's room to watch her sleep for months before they even date. This is presented as romantic rather than grounds for a restraining order. Following her everywhere. He tracks her location, follows her to Port Angeles, and constantly monitors her movements for her protection. Controlling behavior. He disables her truck to prevent her from visiting friends and makes decisions about her safety without her consent. Exhibit D, the baseball scene. The prosecution presents perhaps the most ridiculous vampire activity ever committed to film: supernatural baseball during a thunderstorm. Because nothing says terrifying creatures of the night like America's favorite pastime. The Cullens only play during thunderstorms because their bat hits are so powerful they sound like thunder. This scene attempted to make vampires seem cool and relatable, but instead produced unintentional comedy gold. Exhibit E, Bella Swan's personality. Perpetually gloomy, her default emotion is miserable, with occasional lip-biting. Not like other girls, likes classics and dislikes shopping, revolutionary. Obsessive, entire identity revolves around Edward. Clumsy, her only memorable trait is falling down frequently. Exhibit F, the blue filter. The cinematography of Twilight deserves its own criminal charges. The film is drenched in an excessive blue filter that makes Forks, Washington look like the inside of a freezer. This heavy-handed color grading was apparently meant to convey cold and moody, but instead created a visual experience akin to watching the movie through blue-tinted sunglasses. What were they hiding? Perhaps the mediocrity of the actual cinematography or the actors' makeup? The jury remains unconvinced by this artistic choice. Exhibit G, the biology class scene. The infamous fan scene. Edward reacts to Bella's scent like she's a freshly baked pie, not a lab partner. Biology nonsense. They're using microscopes wrong and identifying phases that don't match what's shown. Zero chemistry. Despite the film insisting otherwise, their lab partnership shows all the chemistry of a wet paper bag. Exhibit H, the eternal high schoolers. Eternal torture. The Cullens voluntarily repeat high school over and over despite having multiple degrees and decades of knowledge. Is this not punishment enough? Suspicious much? They somehow believe remaining in the same town where everyone notices they don't age is less suspicious than just moving somewhere new. Wasted immortality. With eternal life, they choose to suffer through chemistry pop quizzes and cafeteria food rather than exploring the world or pursuing meaningful endeavors. The verdict: guilty as charged. After reviewing all evidence, this court finds Twilight, 2008, guilty of crimes against cinema, vampire mythology, healthy relationships, and basic common sense. The sentence? Eternal imprisonment in the bad movie vault, where it can sparkle in isolation. What do you think? Is Twilight deserving of cinematic jail time, or does it deserve parole for cultural impact? Comment below with your verdict and tag a friend who was obsessed with Team Edward or Team Jacob. #Twilight on Trial.